Hi everyone, my name is Iben and welcome to yet another episode of the Zoo of Ghent. In today's episode we're going to take another look at the Asian section of the zoo, as I've been tinkering away at this area for quite a bit. We'll see some interiors, we'll see some new exhibits, and just some general fixes throughout the entire area. Let's dive into it. We're going to start off here at the Oriental inspired area of the Asian section of the zoo, and one of the things you'll notice immediately is this brand new sign over here. And I have to thank the font gods, as we call them. I have to thank Just Goron for making this incredible sign over here. This is inspired by the new signs at the Zoo of Plankendaal in Belgium, and I really liked how those looked. And I just tried to make my own version of it, and then quickly went to Just Goron and asked him, "Hey buddy, can you just help me with this? I don't think I can do it justice." And he said, yeah, give it to me. I'll do it justice. Don't worry. Every section in the zoo is marked with a color. As you can see, the Asian section of the zoo is marked by red. The American section of the zoo is blue, and the African section will be marked with yellow. Now, continuing on, I think you can all quickly see the changes in the next area. I don't think I need to tell you, but I'll point it out anyway. I added these stone trims to these wooden columns because it didn't make sense to just have a wooden column just flat on these path pieces. Now, of course, I know, I'm joking. The thing that's actually has been changed over here is this brand new exhibit behind the talking exhibit that we've seen so far. I felt like this wasn't really working, and a lot of it was because of the car safari. I'm going to mention it quite a bunch in this episode, but because of the fact that the car safari is now gone, I was able to change a few things in the zoo, and I'm very happy for that. So I'm kind of glad that I got rid of the car safari. It didn't really function anymore. It didn't really fit in the overall vision that I had of this zoo, and now I'm glad that it's gone because I was able to fix a few things that I wasn't before. Before, there was a secondary viewing area behind the tuck-in, and I was forced to just add a bunch of trees here, and the mountain didn't look as good as I wanted it to be, but now I can have a secondary exhibit behind it, and as you can already see right there, there are some markhor all the way over there. I must admit, this is also just inspired by a visit to the Zoo of Antwerp, where they have markhor since a few years. One of the things that I really like is that you have this very obvious, very cool rockwork, but then at the back you still have these kinds of fences. And this is what I really want to do a little bit more in the Zoo of Ghent. I really like these big high budget builds that I like to do here, but I also like bringing it back to the zoo feel, where realism just dictates a lot of the choices. And I really liked doing that when I rebuilt areas of Rudy in Koali. We always did that in tandem. It was always with a mutual agreement. And I had to do it here as well. And I'm glad that I followed the kind of the same steps that I did back then with Koali. First, I built the crazy thing. I just built it the way that I want to see it in the zoo, and then I add some of the realism to it, and it just really works well. Speaking of adding some more zoo elements, I really like the fact that the illusion of the one continuous exhibit gets broken from this view. It just, again, draws it back to the fact that this is still a zoo and not the real world, not the real wild outside. One of the things that I didn't like about the previous iteration of this exhibit was that the talking and the tufted deer didn't have an indoor area where they were able to go into. Now I added that right over here with this little cave, and I think it really works well. And I also still like how you can see the markhor right over there. Another thing you can now see from the guest area right here is a gate at the back of the talking exhibit. Previously, you couldn't really get into this exhibit in any shape, way, or form. You basically just had to jump over everything, but that's not how it works in real life zoos. You do want to have some kind of way to enter this exhibit with heavy machinery, and now we have this gate in the back that allows for that. Again, a very small little change, but it really grounds things once again. Moving on past the tufted deer and the muntjac, there is another exhibit tucked away here at the back. And frankly, if I had to do this all over again, I think I wouldn't have tucked it away this far behind everything. But honestly, I just couldn't not include this animal. This is the golden snub-nosed monkey. It is one of the animals that I've been able to see in real life thanks to Pairi Daiza. And I'm really glad that they have these animals now, because it's an incredible species. One thing that I really love about this exhibit is that there's a whole bunch of climbing frames that they actually do use. But the best thing about it all is the fact that they actually climb on this little pavilion. This is so freaking cool. They spend a lot of time up there, especially the one that is sleeping there. He really does that a lot, and I think that is absolutely amazing. Once again, the actual zoo-ness of it all isn't put away, isn't hidden. You can actually see the Edenya dome over there. You can see that there's a big backstage right there, and it just... I'm not trying to hide it too much. It is hidden enough so that you don't really look at it the entire time, especially because there's this big bright red pavilion over here, and you spend a lot of time watching these very rare monkeys. But again, it is still there and you can't really miss it. So I do really like how all these layers are coming together. Again, I don't think I would have tucked it away as much as I have done right here. This was really an afterthought. This was a corner that I had to fill, so I just had to do it. In the future, I hope to be able to make a more prominent exhibit for these kinds of animals. That would be really nice. Now, if we go back to the giant panda area, I did a small change in their exhibit, and if you spot it, then you have a keen eye, and it's this little wall right over here. So the idea would be that this exhibit is actually usually split in two, so that you can have both a male and a female giant panda over here. But as the zoo currently only has a male giant panda, they decided to just get rid of the fence over here and instead give him the entire space to himself. So it's a small change, but I do really like it, and it makes it so that I don't have to make another exhibit for the giant panda. Is it laziness? Maybe just a little bit, but I really like these kinds of small things in zoos, and again, this is what the Zoo of Ghent is, me doing things that I really enjoy. Now, I did tease it at the beginning, we are going to be looking at an interior, and one of them is the giant panda restaurant right over there. I've been teasing this thing for quite a while now, so let's just jump in, let's just look at it and see what it has to offer. And this is the giant panda restaurant. Unfortunately, it's not really crowded, and I really don't like that. I really wished there were more people in this restaurant. In real life, this would be very busy. But I'm really glad with how it turned out. So you might be wondering to yourself, Iben, why the hell is there a gift shop counter here in a restaurant? That doesn't really make sense. Well, the reason for that is quite simple, and you saw this in the intro. These counters over here, where you can just pick whatever you want to eat, actually have poster holders inside of them, which makes these interactable with guests, and that's something that I really wanted. I really wanted to have some people here standing around these food items and checking out what they could eat, and yeah, it really solidifies it as the way it is, just like the inspiration which is in Pairi Daiza. One of the cool things I added over here is this big industrial rice cooker. I really like that. It is a very small detail, but I like it a lot. There are a whole bunch of different options over here. I try to do my best to really just give every specific thing a little bit of texture, and I hope you really like it. The tables themselves also have a little bit more detail with some sauces and these little plates over here. I just really like how it looks. Now, the thing about this restaurant is that there are great places and there are a few bad places. So everything right over here is a great place to sit. You have views of the giant panda exhibit, which is amazing. But if you come over here and if you sit right at the edge, then you don't get as much of a view anymore. And luckily I decided not to have a bunch of benches over here, because all you would basically see is an obstructed view of the orangutan exhibit, which I didn't like. Instead, I decided to put the dessert menu right here, which makes it a lot easier. And again, I would imagine that in these little pots there would be pancakes and waffles and stuff like that. But as I mentioned, there are bad places, and that is this side of the restaurant. And I feel bad for anyone who comes here and is basically seated in this area, because essentially you're just looking at the roof of a backstage building. But again, this feels like a really zoo thing to me, so I had to include it. I'm glad that I did it. Honestly, I do wish that I was able to add a little bit more detail in this restaurant, but unfortunately this entire building has already a whole bunch of pieces, and building in this area is super tedious and super slow, so I decided to keep it relatively low on detail. There's still enough in here to just make it feel alive, but yeah, I wish I could add just a little bit more. But honestly, I'm happy with where we are right now. And this brings us back to the more Indian inspired area of the Asian section. And one thing that I've done here is add a whole bunch of trims around the pots. This is something that I'm doing throughout the entire zoo. It's a very tedious job, but if you ask me, it does look a lot better. It kind of does give you the feeling that these, while still being dirt pots, are actual pots and not just something they threw together. It makes it seem as if there was thought put into it, and whilst it is just a small little detail, I'm happy with what it looks like right now. Another update to this area is in the male rhino exhibit. As I mentioned before, I got rid of the safari, and because of that, the viewing area that used to be here had to be removed as well. Instead, I added this new fence, and again, it's a very small little detail, but I'm so happy with it. It again solidifies it as it is being an actual zoo and not just some fictional thing that comes from my fantasy that does not have to adhere to any rules of reality. I'm glad that these things are in plain sight, that guests are able to see these, because I think it's important, and again, it brings it back to a form of realism that I at least am trying to achieve. Secondly, the bull elephant yard has gotten a little bit more space. I wasn't really happy with the amount of space that the elephants used to have. I thought it was just not enough. So I added this little in-ham over there, which allows the elephants to also just get away from each other. If one of the bulls are right over there, the other one can just be here, and they don't have to see each other for a while. They can just get away from each other, and this is something that I think is quite important. And finally, after many months, we're going to take a look at the inside of this building. I've teased it for a while now, but I think it's finally time to show you all what's inside of this. And there we go. This is the inside of the elephant building, and man, I'm really happy with how it turned out. There's just so much to look at right now, and I'm just going to give you all the time to let it sink in. So we're going to start off with this little miniature diorama. I really enjoyed making these in the past. I know I made one for Rubel's Zoo, and when we got these little gift shop elephants, I knew that I wanted to do it again, and this just turned out really cool. I really like the idea of bringing back the viewing tower over here, which we actually have outside. When you're standing right here, you can actually already see it. So I really like the fact that we have that lookout tower right here, and that is reflected in the diorama. Speaking about reality being reflected in dioramas, here is a reconstruction of the building that we're in right now. Again, a really cool thing, and it's something that I've seen in plenty of zoos where you actually have this scale model of a big new construction project. And I always really like it when they put it into an area where you as a guest can come. It's really nice. Next to it, we have an educator that also sells a bunch of souvenir pieces, and they also have some pamphlets over here that you can fill in and support some elephant project, especially the elephant protection program that I have right over there. Now let's go and look at the education setup, because yeah, that is honestly one of the things that I'm most proud of. Let's take a closer look. Let's jump over these benches and go directly for the education. And this is something that I stole from Saint Reginald Zoo, which I built there first, but I think I was able to improve it a little bit more. So you have the typical, hey, this is what an elephant eats, and this is what happens when an elephant ate all of these plants and fruits, which is really cool. I used the Asia Pack pieces for this, and I think it really works well as elephant poop. I also really like how these little bell pieces work really well as weights. So this would be like what an elephant produces in a day, what a single elephant produces in a day. Of course, these are fake, these are not real. On these monitors there probably would be a video, but I don't think I'm going to spend time on making an actual video. That might be something that I do in the future, but not for this zoo. And this really is my favorite part. It's a education station on elephants in the zoo, so how elephants are taken care of. As you can see, there is a line here that you don't cross, and there's information regarding that. But the coolest thing right here is this elephant rotation device, which is used by the Zoo of Blijdorp, which also has a scale model of that in their actual guest area. And I'm so happy that I was able to make this and make it fit to the actual Planet Zoo size. Again, if we had scaling, this would have been so much easier, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'll put a picture of what it looks like in real life as well, so that you have an idea of what I made, but I'm really happy with it. This allows them to do operations on elephants to check certain spots of an elephant that they couldn't do without getting really close, and I think it's a really fascinating machine. Continuing on, there is one more area inside of this building that we can take a look at, and I'm so glad that I waited a little bit, because now the bull is inside of this. Oh my god, this is so cool. I'm sorry, I'm lost for words. I really like the way this looks, and of course, almost as if it's on cue, it started to poop. This is the backstage area where you as a guest can get into and see the elephants when it's cold outside or when it's raining. Each individual elephant can be kept in separate stalls, as you can see, and right over there is the exit to the elephant yard for the female elephants. I really like the way it looked. It took me a long while to get this finished because I went through like 10 different kinds of setups, but in the end I'm very happy with how all of it looks. As you can spot in the back, there is a way to bring this feeder closer to the zookeepers that would normally walk on these ledges, and there's a button to get it closer and get it back to the exhibit again. Yeah, I'm really happy. Oh, I'm really happy with everything that I've done here in the past. It looks pretty cool. And that's everything for now. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Zoo of Ghent. I know it was a little bit more all over the place than usual, but this was an area of the zoo that I still had to fix a lot of little things in. I think it's almost entirely finished right now. I'm really glad with the result. And if you are interested in this, let me know in the comments, but I'm considering just doing a silent walkthrough of this area, like just going through the entire area in one go without an actual like voiceover or anything, just like you would see for actual zoos in real life. So if this is something you'd be interested in, then I would certainly provide that for you, especially for each finished area. That does seem like an interesting way to look at it. Just let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do about that. Thank you all so much for watching. Do everything you want to do, like, comment and subscribe, and see you in the next episode of the Zoo of Ghent.